Hello and welcome to this great episode of the Great Debaters Contest. I'm your host, Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bishar.
Does how much I own influence the way I lead?
The question Austin is asking is if African leaders should declare their wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts.
Proposing the motion, we have Buruburu Girls High School, the alma mater of a devilishly enchanting co-host, Mariam Bishar.
Before I go and brood over Austin's compliment, I'll introduce the Strathmore School. They're known for being sleek chameleons, good at whatever they do. Let's see if they're as good as they say in the debating world.
The motion this week is African leaders should declare their wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts. Proposing the motion, Buruburu Girls High School. Opposing the motion, Strathmore School.
Each contestant has 3 minutes to make their submissions. The audience also gets a chance to put their questions to each team. Each side will have an additional 1 minute to make a final statement. The judge's decision is final. The winning school will get an ICT chill-out zone with the widescreen TV, computers, webcams, and internet connection. The teacher from the winning school gets 100,000 shillings courtesy of Chase Bank. The winning students each get a tablet courtesy of Safaricom, a gift hamper from Unilever, and a gift hamper from mimi.co.ke. And together, they all win the title, The Great Debaters. May the best school win.
Proposer number 1, you may begin. You have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, President J.F. Kennedy once said, "The ultimate answer to ethical problems in government is honest people in a good environment." I'm John Lexi from Buruburu Girls, ready to propose the motion that states African leaders should declare their wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts. What is wealth, really? According to the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, wealth is money or property earned by an individual or by a government or by a country. Prerequisite vocabulary to my maybe fellow counterparts and most of the audience means something that must exist or something that must occur in order for something else to happen. The tenets of good governance are accountability, transparency, and participation. And wealth declaration falls under accountability and transparency. Ladies and gentlemen, if I have nothing to hide and no secrets, then I will have no problem in sharing what I have, what I own with others. Let's get this straight. As the proposers, when we say the African leaders need to declare their wealth, they're not declaring their wealth to the public, no, but to the government. Ladies and gentlemen, if we have the leaders, the wannabe leaders, or the leaders who want to be elected into government, we need to look at their businesses. What kind of businesses were they partaking in, ladies and gentlemen? Were they legal business? Were they legal businesses? And if I'm able to manage my business and have very high profits, ladies and gentlemen, aren't I able to run a constituency, a country, and a county and the country? Let's take a case scenario of President Theodore Obiang of Equatorial Guinea and Omar Bongo of Gabon. They had over 200 bank accounts and 60 luxury properties in Paris. And wait, that's not just it. They had $1.2 billion worth of cars. We're talking about a Bugatti, a Lamborghini. Not cheap cars, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, not a Toyota Sunny, no. So if these leaders declare their wealth before they're elected into government, we are able to see what kind of businesses they are partaking, ladies and gentlemen. Where do I get my money from? And how do I use this money? Do I buy guns and export them? And that is how I get my money? Because leaders, especially those who are being elected, need money, especially during campaigns, ladies and gentlemen. As a result, before I conclude, we need this, as the saying goes, create harmony, not chaos, and prevention is better than cure. Let us first search the leaders. Thank you.
First opposer, you may take over. You have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that this notion that African leaders should declare their wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts is simply ludicrous, laughable, to say the least. I, Fred Muthusi, think that no, they should not. Why should they? I mean, there is basically no correlation between leadership and money. None. If I'm rich, if I'm poor, does that mean I can be a good leader? A bad leader? No. Leadership is born. It's an intrinsic trait. Money, wealth, made. Simply. So, if you want to tell me that my wealth will affect how I lead a nation, a society, I think you're sadly mistaken. I mean, and even if I were to declare my wealth and I got it wrongly, in weird manners, or for nothing really, I got it in a black way, to say the least. Do you think that I will come before you, stand there, and say that, oh no, I stole? When I was in office, I stole a BMW, I gifted myself a Range Rover, I acquired a Mercedes Benz, but before all that, I took a selfie. No, I will. You see, it is laughable. You laugh because it is a laughable thing. Nobody will admit what they stole. And so, they will do something. They will either register it under a pseudonym or something, and they will not declare it. And so, if we are going to focus on what he did, on what she did in the past, instead of the way forward, we really can't move forward, because you can't really go in front looking behind. And so I say again, leadership has no correlation with wealth. Thank you.
Second proposer, you may give your rebuttal. You have 3 minutes.
I am Maimuna Mohammed from Buruburu Girls, and proposing the motion that states African leaders should declare their wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts. Before I go on to my first point, I would like to encounter what my fellow here has said. This motion is lovable. Lovable. How can it be lovable? You think the leaders are leading sheep? The leaders are leading people. And since you are a leader, you have to think of the welfare of the people. You have to think of the benefits. You have to know the reasons. Why do you want to ascend to that seat? Do you want to amass personal wealth? Are you someone who is being perpetuated by the appetite to get rich? It's you to answer. On to my first point. The leaders should declare their wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts, simply because the continent in which we are living, Africa that is, more than 28 countries have supported the declaration of wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts. That is more than half of the countries in Africa. If the people, the citizens, we know Africa is a third world country, yet is developing to reach where they can. If the people who are not educated, most of them, realize that declaring wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts is important, do you think we should not agree with them? The USA as a powerful country urges South Sudan, a small country which has just gained independence the other day, to it's advising its leaders to declare their wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts simply because they have seen the rate of corruption in South Sudan. The corruption is high in South Sudan, and it's making their country to deteriorate and go down. The USA has realized the benefits of declaring wealth as a prerequisite to seeking elective posts and urged the Africans, that is the South Sudan leaders, to seek their wealth, to declare their wealth as a prerequisite, because they have known the benefits, the importance of declaring your wealth, because they know when you become a leader, you're carrying the cross of all the population in your country. So you have to be answerable to them. So in order to reduce rate of corruption in our country, leaders should declare their wealth, because by doing that, we are able to know, to assess how much they have earned, their wealth, how they acquired, and the rate of increase in their wealth. Thank you.
Second opposer, you may give your rebuttal. You have 3 minutes.
This right here is my wallet. And in it, I've got 50 bob. Well, my name is Jeff Gige from Strathmore School, and each of you should vote for me as president, for I have declared my wealth. Does that follow? Is wealth really proportionate to your leadership qualities? Bob Marley said that the greatness of a man is not in how much wealth he acquires, but in his integrity and his ability to affect those around him positively. Dwight Eisenhower said that the supreme quality for leadership and unquestionable integrity. And without it, no real success is possible, no matter whether it is in a section gun, a football field, or an army. And this is why I disagree with my esteemed opponents that African leaders should declare their wealth as a prerequisite for seeking elective posts. What does it do if we actually do this? It opens it up for rumors. I heard some of you say, I'm a poor man. Yes, I heard that. But does that show anything? In fact, the Uruguay leader, a few months ago, he declared his wealth. He didn't earn the title of least corrupt person, or rather president in the world. He did not earn the title of the most competent president in the world. All he was called is the poorest president. He was worth $322,000 an estimate. I tell you that there are if, for example, my 50 bob suddenly became 500 shillings, it does not follow that I stole the money. No, I could have made it through other ways. I could have invested in real estate. I could have bought a business. There's so many other ways to make wealth. This is why I say that this is an ineffective measure against corruption. Alternatives could be reinstating the Conflict of Interest Bill of 1972. You could also punish people involved in corrupt activities. So it's not just an investment. What this motion basically says is that we are all thieves. And I know I'm not a thief, just as my judge said before. So stop throwing stones at our leaders and use those stones to build this nation. Thank you. May we have questions for the proposers, please?
I'm Dorcas from Olympic High School, and my question goes to the proposers. The first proposer spoke. I did not get any example of any country that uses wealth to bring up leadership. But when the second proposer came, she gave an example of South Sudan. Now, can you use South Sudan to represent the entire Africa? Thank you.
I'm George Mushiri from Aquinas High School, and my question goes to the proposers. Don't you think that character and ability to lead is more important than the monetary value of a person or their economic background? Thank you.
Questions for the opposers?
I'm Lewis Kanyere from Aquinas High School, asking the opposers, can you tell us, when you say that the wealth, whether I'm rich or poor, do you want to mean that all leaders, whether rich or poor, will get there and will not have a thought of amassing wealth first? Is it that you want to say that all leaders are integral, that all leaders who get in, whether rich or poor, do not have that thought of amassing wealth first before they even start thinking of leading people?
Setting Mercy from State House Girls, I would like to ask the opposers, if leaders have to declare their wealth in prerequisite to seeking the election seat, can we have something in substitution that they can declare instead of wealth?
May we have the third proposer take to the stage?
Greetings all. For the record, my name is Esperance Nyamakanwake, and I'm here first to answer the first three questions. And if my fellow contestants had clearly come stating what a prerequisite is, then those questions, the three questions that I have, wouldn't be here. You see, Gige said he had 50 shillings. When I came here, I had 250 shillings. I have 200 shillings. Where is my 50 bob? Let's define this motion. My question is, where did you get your money from? Our question is, where did our leaders get the money from? What is a prerequisite? A prerequisite is a precondition. Let me take examples that are already there. You have to tell me your age. Everyone needs to know how old you are. You have to be over 18 for you to seek being president. Sorry, over 35 years, I beg your pardon. And so you have to declare your wealth before I think of casting my vote and voting for you. My fellow proposer, Muna, talked about leading sheep. I think you guys did not do your research well enough. Because if you had, you'd have realized that you just won't come in front of people. Where would they get the audacity to lie to all these people? People with brains who are sent to come and represent their school. And tell them, you know, I am worth 50 billion. And then we'll be like, okay, let's leave it to that. There are people who are going to investigate that. I'll give you a quick recap of what has happened in the recent past. One, James Ibori from Delta State, back in my homeland in Nigeria, he was caught in a London court. Why? And all his accounts were frozen. Why am I saying that? Because he declared false information, and what happened? He was caught. So I do not know why you're here with all the audacity in the world and telling us that, no, let me quote your words. Sorry, I will not quote, I will paraphrase. Nobody will admit the right amounts they have. Young men. Now to my point, public trust. I'll give you a study case in Malawi. Malawi, for a politician or any African leader to seek an elective post, you have to declare your wealth. In Malawi, one of the benefits that any Malawian can tell you is that they have public trust in their government. I'll take you down to Rwanda. In Rwanda, as you can see, we all know of the genocide in 1994. Here down in Kenya, we all sing about Haki Yetu. How long will we take pigs to parliament? Do you think we trust these people? Are you going to let them abuse the power that we give them? Don't you want to know where they get their wealth from? Thank you.
Third opposer, you may take the stage. You have 3 minutes.
I honestly don't know where this talk of leading sheep came from, because my colleague, the man with the selfie, talked about the idea being laughable, not being lovable. And if my opponent, Esperance, what a lovely name. If you lost your 50 bob, I suggest you check under the table, because he didn't take it. Well, is there anything better that you can declare rather than your wealth for you to run for elective posts? No, declaring things isn't the only way to go. Why don't we first deal with the issue at hand? And what they have raised is corruption. Why don't we deal with corruption? Let's eliminate it. But how do we deal with corruption without having to go through this crazy process of having to declare your wealth? I will come to that. Okay? So I have come to that. How do we deal with corruption without this crazy process? And why do I call it crazy in the first place? Because you notice that my colleague said that 28 countries in Africa have decided to publicly declare their wealth. And note in this case, I said publicly. So that means that the leader comes and tells the whole wide world how much he is worth. She didn't tell you that she said that 5 of them do declare publicly. She didn't tell you that South Africa was one of them. Can I remind you of one of the recent events that happens in South Africa? President Zuma built a house. And it was huge. It was huge. And so the tabloids went mad. Where did he get this money from? It's not his own money, it's the state's money, but they couldn't prove it. They couldn't prove it. All that declaring your wealth, all that declaring your wealth amounts to is to give people gossip, nothing else. You also talked, my dear Esperance, of how we said that that nobody would come here and give you the correct amount. I agree, by the way. How do you trust a leader? How do you trust a leader to tell you exactly what they own and exactly how much they're worth? How would we know that that is the truth? If they were to lie to us, would we know? I don't think so. I don't think we'd be able to tell, because we're fully depending on what they're telling us. In addition to that, my colleague didn't say that anybody wouldn't tell you what they said. He said that any leader wouldn't tell you what they said. Wouldn't tell you what they are worth. That's another problem with this whole idea of declaring your wealth. It creates political witch hunting. Our very first opponent said how character, not wealth, is the basis of running for elective posts. And we agree. The problem with declaring your wealth is that it creates political witch hunting. It takes away from character. It makes you focus more on the wealth of the person rather than their character. So I, Valiant Wayaki from Strathmore School, I'm here to viciously refuse that African leaders should declare their wealth as a prerequisite for seeking elective posts. Thank you.
Now we'll hear closing statements from both teams. Proposer number 3, or any of you can take a minute to give us your final submission.
Right to information case laws database. You have a right to seek information. We all know that. You give us false information, we hunt you down. He talked about character and corruption, 2 C words. I'll start with character. Character cannot be developed by tranquility and peace and order and quiet in a society. But it is with difficulties that the heart is strengthened. Gossip. If that gossip will make someone not sleep, if that gossip will save a woman down there who has no plans of the future, then let me gossip. Let me gossip to prevent abuse of power. I'll give you an example. In Nigeria, there was a man that sang, Nigeria jaga jaga, everything jaga jaga. The politicians were up in arm, we are lying. The leaders have character. Nigeria is Africa's most corrupt country. Let's think about that. Let's not let these people deceive us. Let's make our leaders accountable to everything they do. They are not leading sheep that's the common phrase right now. They are leading human beings. Wealth or no wealth, tell me how you got your wealth, then I will cast my vote for you. Thank you.
An opposer to wrap up.
Right to information? Are you serious? I also have the right to privacy. Why are you so concerned with my wealth, if you want me to be your leader? My wealth has nothing to do with my character. My wealth has nothing to do with my ability to lead you. If she is going to vote for me because of whether or not she knows how much I am worth and how much I want, I don't want her vote. I want people who will vote for me because I can lead them. You know, John F. Kennedy, the president of America some time ago, said that the ultimate answer to ethical problems in a government is honest people in an ethical environment. No web of statute or regulation, however intricately conceived, can hope to deal with the myriad possible challenges to man's integrity or his devotion to public interest. You know what that means? That means that it doesn't matter how much you tell me to declare my wealth. My leadership is not based on my wealth. My leadership is based on, guess what? My leadership. Thank you.
I'll go straight to the participants. Buruburu, Joan, you're a good speaker, good use of examples where leaders have been exorbitant in terms of their taking advantage of wealth and all those things. That's the same thing to Muna as well. However, you're very passionate, and if that was accompanied by a good coherency of argument, you would make a great debater. Too many words to explain your points, and that made you lose a lot of time trying to explain some particulars. And you couldn't give us extra points on that. Esperance. You see, the question I was asking myself is, where were you all this time? You know? Because you come in and you wake me up. That doesn't mean I was asleep, but you wake me up, you know? Because the debate seems like it just began. Simply put, it's wow. All the best to the winning team.
Strathmore, that was good. The first speaker, Fred, content should be well mastered. That is my first comment. Second, as a first speaker, avoid theoretical examples. I really wish that you could narrow down and zero in on some issues that face this continent. Jeff, good introduction. You began with a climax. In between, you pattered away. Then you came back with a climax. I wish if you begin on a high note, you sustain that energy to the end. Verbal fluency also. It was fair. Not that good, not that bad, but it was fair. Wayaki, you have a style of speaking that I do not know how to describe. You are bringing a new angle to this debate. And maybe to the two teams, I've seen a lot of humor since morning. You make us relax, you make us enjoy the debate. Debate is not a question of wearing that stone face and shouting instructions, but a question of just relaxing and communicating your idea very passionately. I think I've enjoyed this debate a lot more. Thank you very much.
This has been an interesting debate. The sense of humor has been interesting to listen to, and at some point we were laughing here. I must say I was carried away by the two teams. I think the first two speakers from the two sides, that's Lexi and Fred, a stage fright cropped in at some point, and that is something that you may want to work on by practicing outside of, debates like this amongst your friends, so that you're able to deal with that. And it's always very tough being the first speaker. So I think the two of you did well, even with the stage fright to bear. It's good to have a strong first speaker and a strong last speaker, because that then puts your team above everybody else. All the best to the two teams.
Buruburu girls, they got 69%. Give them a hand. And as well, for the gentlemen from Strathmore School, they got 71.4. Yeah. So that makes them the winners for this round. But remember, it's a game of numbers, not necessarily a knockout game type thing. So we hope to see them in the next stage.
And from all of us here at the Great Debaters Contest, I am your host, Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Beshar. We'll see you next week.
The winning school will get an ICT chill-out zone with the widescreen TV, computers, webcams, and internet connection. The teacher from the winning school gets 100,000 shillings courtesy of Chase Bank. The winning students each get a tablet courtesy of Safaricom, a gift hamper from Unilever, and a gift hamper from mimi.co.ke. And together, they all win the title, The Great Debaters. May the best school win.